I'm MC Toon. Today I'm looking at a video by Mitchel from Australia that claims to explain how objects are obscured bottom up due to angular resolution. Strap in, people. I'm sure there's going to be lots of solid scientific evidence in this presentation with testable predictions based on a really good understanding of physics, right? But before I do that, I'd like to thank my patrons and subscribers. Your support makes it possible for me to focus more time on debunking these silly head flat earthers. All the emails and DMs that I get encouraging me are much appreciated. Thanks, everybody. So now on to Mitchel's video. The title is Why Objects Disappear Bottom Up, Part 1, Angular Resolution. And the important part here, he says this video will demonstrate how no curvature is necessary, misspelled, to make objects disappear from the bottom up. It's partly due to angular resolution of an object becoming too small and reaching its diffraction limit. So let's find out if that's the case.
And this is yet another simple observation that anyone can do at home. You have a coin and a flat table, and I'm going to demonstrate how we can make an object disappear bottom up.
Now before we do that, I want to skip ahead to a different part of his video here. And we'll come back to this in a second. This is over water here. So watch this part.
And I'm going to put my camera on top of it. This is a common observation by most people with a zoom camera of seeing a boat disappearing bottom up. But as you can see,
now that boat isn't disappearing at this point, of course. And note the one thing here, you can see water in front of the boat, between the camera and the boat, and then also water behind the boat. Now when we go back to this view here, what's missing? We do not see the top of the table, right?
Without the need of curvature, or without the need of a physical obstruction for that matter. Now you
So why did Mitchel position the camera differently than he did when he was at the lake? At the lake is how we observe things. We don't see the top of the table.
I was going to sit at home and say that table is just higher than the observer height.
Of course it is. If it were lower than the observer height, we would see the top of the table, Mitchel.
The camera height. Now let's get that sorted quick smart. When we zoom in, we increase the focal length and increase the angular resolution. And we can resolve that coin in its entirety.
So we will get back to this later, how he is able to view the coin.
You can see?
Yeah, so it's clear that he tried to replicate the exact results he wanted. This is typical confirmation bias at work. He made a conclusion. Now he's grasping at straws to find something that can fool some gullible people. And he was able to fool people. Let's have a look at some of the people he fooled in the comments. And here we see some of the gullible people that got fooled by this trick. We got Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, who said, "G'day, mate. Someone from Globebusters just recommended I check you out. Like what I've seen already. Subbed and hit the bell. I'm in northern New South Wales. You?" So no surprise there that Flat Earth Aussie Jesus was fooled by this. Also notice the Globebusters were fooled by this, right? Paul on the Plain says bloody brilliant. Orphan Red says this is just the best. Cheers. The Book of the Sun, which is that scumball Antonio Subarats, says, well, who cares? And then this guy D-I-T, how do you, I don't, that's not a word. Hold on. Planer Walk, how do you say that?
videos. Was that 10 seconds of Dearth's name boring?
Well, yes it is, Planer Walk. So, Dearth. Dearth says, "You absolutely killed it again. Soon there will be nothing left to disprove." So, Dearth got a little setting straight here by Jonathan Joman and Squatting Thunder Bear. Don't mess with him. Pop over to the comments and have a read if you're interested in some good description there, because these people do understand physics, unlike Mitchell. You've got General Mayhem 333. Let's see a video where the coin disappears on the table when we can actually see some terrain like we do in real life. You know, the top of the table. And not when the camera's below the height of the table. Anyone thinks that this is proof the Earth is flat is a total idiot. Seriously, if this video is actually represented reality, then when looking in the direction of the boat going out to sea, we would have our heads underwater. And that's right, you wouldn't see any of the water in front of you at all. You'd just see boat. In every lens, there's a point called the no parallax point or entrance pupil. It's referred to some as the nodal point. Technically not the same, however, this is not the main point. Your camera was slightly tilted up. When you increase the focal length, what you referred to as zooming in, you extend the front glass element, and that's an important thing there, and the other groups forward. In other words, you moved the no parallax point forward, and since the lens was slightly tilted up, also moved the entrance pupil up enough to clear the table and reveal the coin. It goes on. There's plenty of good stuff. Not being fooled. The flat earthers, they got fooled. Pentalica, love that guy. Ruhif, man, Ruhif and I go back. I love him. The aperture size increasing as you zoom in, he says, and it's similar to the other one there. Sly Sparkane had to chime in and just his normal little stuff there. And here we see one from Wolfies 20. He had to use his separate account because Mitchell from Australia decided he was in favor of censorship. And I thought flat earthers were not in favor of it. I guess it's a little inconsistent there. So Wolfie's saying, "You use my footage without the courtesy of asking, and then you block me from responding. Why are you such a sissy, Mitchell? This is shameful for an Aussie. Typical for a flatty, though. Anyway, now put the coin above the table and put the camera at a level where you have to angle it down 3 degrees to see the coin. You won't show us that one, will you, mate? Why not? This is where we have the sun setting from 45,000 feet. Good luck with that. The globe explains it perfectly. Half your lens is below table height. Only a flatty would be fooled by this nonsense, and we saw a few flatties fooled. Do we have half the lens below ground when filming a sunset from a mountain or aircraft? Try again." And here's Bob the Science Guy, and Jonathan Joman has a fantastic description. What happened here can be easily seen as in the diagram that Mitchell does, and later in his video has a diagram. The aperture is which is the size of what lets light in the front of a camera lens, is quite significant. And in that lens, it's not as small as the iris of our eye. It's much larger. About half of it is always above the table surface. It can therefore always see the coin even with the center of the lens below the table. Of course, light from it still reaches the lens in any case. Nothing to do with flat or curved. One can see the effect of this as he zooms in. His explanation, likening it to diffraction limit or Rayleigh criterion, is total bollocks, though. So let's return to the part of the video where he's looking at the boat over water.
This is a common observation by most people with a zoom camera of seeing a boat disappearing bottom up. But as you can see, it's definitely not going to be due to Earth curvature, as the horizon is still far in the distance. Now this is a good example of angular size. When you zoom out, it reduces the focal length, and the angular size gets so small that it reaches the diffraction limit.
And he's correct. That is what happens with the diffraction limit.
When you zoom back in, increasing the focal length, the angular size increases and you can resolve it again. But as you can also see, angular resolution of the image has also changed.
Yes, it has. But you move the camera very close to the water, so there's a lot more optical effects close to the water. You can see this waviness in the image because of the stronger variances in the temperature and humidity near the water. It blurs the details of the boat, but this is not due to the diffraction limit because the boat is the same distance away as when the camera was 3 feet high, and the aperture size of the camera has not changed. These are the two factors in the Rayleigh criterion that determines the ability to resolve details.
And the horizon is still far in the background. Now comparing these two images, on the left, the observer height is 1 inch, and on the right, the observer height is 3 foot. And you can see clearly that the boat has started to disappear bottom up.
Or has it? Has it actually started to disappear bottom up? I don't know about that, but you can see that the boat on the left is compressed compared to the boat on the right. This is due to the optical effects from going through the air just above the water. So we can have a comparison to see which boat, see what happens when we uncompress the boat. So here's his image of the two boats, and I captured the boat on the left, moved it over to the right, and I swapped it left to right. I flipped it horizontally so we can have a little comparison. And when I compare the two, something is a little off. And when I uncompress it, you can see there's nothing missing. The bottom of the boat isn't missing. It was just compressed. We see just as much of the boat as a percentage of the boat. Nothing's missing. So he's being quite deceptive here. He didn't bother to uncompress. And he's leading you to believe that it looks smaller, and that's what's happening, that it's being obscured bottom up. But it's not. All you need to do is uncompress it. So let's watch the rest of Mitchel's video to see what things he has to say.
Let's add some more distance. This is Bathurst Lighthouse from 20 kilometers away.
This is the footage that he took from Wolfie before he blocked him.
The left image is from a 30 meter viewing height, and the right image from a 2 meter viewing height. The obstruction in the right image, the globe proponents will assert, is only from Earth curvature and nothing else.
And that's correct. And we can test this by using the Earth curve calculator. And here's a good one. It uses the correct formula, and it includes a necessary observer height. So I put in here the distance between the observer and the target of 20 kilometers, the observer height of 2 meters, target height of 19.2 meters. I looked that up for the Bathurst Lighthouse. And we see the hidden part, which is ZW on this little diagram down here. That's let's see, I'll get that so you can see it. Right, ZW is what is the hidden part, and it is for the Bathurst Lighthouse from that distance, 17.54 with no refraction. And of course there is refraction, so somewhere in you need to increase your margin of error there. So 13.6. And you could go stronger refraction. It depends on the conditions that day. It's difficult to know, and unless you have quantifiable measurements all across the distance, it's very difficult to have an accurate number. So that just increases our margin of error. So 13.6 is how much of that should be obscured bottom up. And that matches pretty closely. We don't have lines on there. It's difficult to do an exact measurement. But let's see what else Mitchel has to say.
But I've shown you in this video that angular resolution can cause obstruction from bottom up.
And you've not done that, sorry.
Without the need of any Earth curvature. Now, if we continue to zoom in on that right image, we will never be able to resolve the bottom of it.
That's correct.
Globers will say, well, that's clearly because it's a physical obstruction from a reified edge of a globe. But in the next 2 videos that I'm going to release, I will demonstrate there are other factors at play here, and none of them have to do with earth, curve, obstruction, any images from bottom up.
Well, I look forward to that, and maybe we'll have to just address them as well. But this video, you didn't do anything you set out to do. Sorry. Thanks a lot for making this video so that we can have a look at it and see how silly it is that you think that the some diffraction limit or angular resolution is at work here, when in your own video we saw that it's not. So Mitchel from Australia put a coin on a table and then a camera so low that you could not see the top of the table. Unlike in real life, where you can always see the floor or the water or something between you and the thing you're looking at. You know, that's the thing about flat Earth. The only way to find evidence for it is to lie about it. Well, anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Click on the like if you liked it. If your name is Mitchel from Australia, you feel free to click the thumbs down. I wouldn't blame you. Everybody else, if you've not subscribed, please go ahead and do that and click on the bell notification as well. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.